Stablecoins are quietly rewriting the rules of global finance, and most people still don't realize how massive this is becoming. Every single week, the amount of value moving across stablecoin networks breaks another record. What used to be a niche blockchain experiment has now turned into a trillion-dollar payment revolution happening right under everyone's nose. And for XRP holders, this shift means something far bigger than just stable prices or faster transactions. It's about the rise of real utility and the network effects that drive unstoppable growth. Think about it this way. And the more money that flows over a network, the more valuable that network becomes. It's the same logic that took Bitcoin from a few cents to tens of thousands of dollars per coin. Bitcoin's value came from its network effect. People buying, selling, trading, and holding it globally. Yet, here's the kicker. Bitcoin reached those heights without being used for real world transactions at scale. It didn't need billions moving through it daily. Speculation alone created its demand. Now imagine stablecoins doing the same thing, but with actual transactional use cases that touch every corner of the economy. We're already seeing over $4 trillion in monthly transfer volume, and that number keeps growing every single month. Analysts are now projecting that stablecoins could soon cross $10 trillion a month in total value moved. Let that sink in. $10 trillion of global liquidity flowing through digital rails instead of traditional banking systems. Currently, most of that activity still happens on Ethereum. As much as XRP fans might dislike that fact, Ethereum remains the most liquid and enterprise-integrated blockchain in the stablecoin space. It's had years of head start with USDT and USDC dominating institutional payments and DEFI protocols. But that dominance won't last forever. The market is shifting fast, and new players, especially Ripple's RLUSD, are stepping onto the stage with transparency, compliance, and trust that Ethereum-based coins simply can't match. Even though the broader crypto market looks quiet right now, stable coins keep growing. Monthly transfer volume is up 37%, hitting $4.29 trillion. Market cap sits near $296 billion, up over 3% in just 30 days. There are 30 million active addresses, a 13% increase, and nearly 200 million holders globally. These aren't just numbers, these are signs of explosive adoption during what's supposed to be a slow market. Even in weekly snapshots, we're seeing close to $1 trillion worth of stablecoin transactions. That's more than most countries' annual GDPs. This isn't a temporary pump. It's the backbone of what's next for digital finance. Every time someone moves value using a stablecoin instead of a bank, it weakens the old system and strengthens blockchain networks like XRP. Ledger. And that brings us to the real opportunity, RLUSD, Ripple's own stablecoin. In my view, this is going to be the stablecoin that challenges everything the market thought it knew about trust and scale. Ripple has spent years building relationships with banks, regulators, and institutional partners, positioning RLUSD as the bridge between traditional finance and blockchain liquidity. The truth is, we're standing at the edge of a financial shift. Bitcoin proved that decentralized assets can hold value. Stablecoins are proving that blockchain can move value, and XRP, with its speed, scalability, and institutional-grade network, is poised to connect those two worlds together. Because as stablecoins continue to explode in usage, the value doesn't just stay locked in those coins, it ripples outward, literally into the networks that carry them. And that's where the XRP ledger starts to shine. Let's look deeper at what's really driving this. Because stablecoins aren't just another crypto trend, they're becoming the lifeblood of the new financial system. Behind the scenes, the biggest institutions, payment processors, and fintech players are quietly building on top of this infrastructure. Every month, more corporate treasuries, trading firms, and cross-border payment networks are switching from traditional rails to stablecoin settlements. And that shift is accelerating, not because of hype, but because the numbers make sense. Right now, stablecoins are handling trillions of dollars every single month with near zero fees and settlement times that make banks look ancient. If you've ever tried wiring money internationally, you know how slow and expensive that process can be. Days of waiting, hidden fees, and conversions that eat away your total. But when that same transaction happens using a stable coin like RLUSD or USDC, it clears in seconds. No middlemen, no delays. That's why it's so important to pay attention to what Ripple is building. RLUSD isn't just another stable coin trying to compete for retail users. It's being designed for institutions, for companies that move millions daily and can't afford the inefficiency of traditional payment networks. Ripple's focus has always been enterprise grade technology, and RLUSD takes that same philosophy into the stablecoin market. Transparency is the biggest weapon here. Every single month, Ripple releases full attestations showing exactly how RLUSD is backed and managed. There's no mystery, no vague claims about reserves. That alone already puts it miles ahead of competitors that have faced constant questions about their backing and audits. Then there's compliance, something most projects in crypto only started thinking about after regulators came knocking. Ripple has spent years building one of the most robust compliance frameworks in the industry, earning licenses, partnerships, and regulatory clarity that other projects can only dream of. This is why RLUSD has such a strong foundation. It's not built to dodge regulation, it's built to work with it. And Ripple isn't just stopping at issuing a stable coin, they're expanding into every layer of global payments. Their acquisition of G Treasury is the clearest sign of this shift. That deal opened a direct path into the $120 trillion corporate treasury payments market. It's not just about sending money faster, it's about unlocking what Ripple calls idle capital. Think about this. Right now, trillions of dollars sit locked inside Nostro accounts doing nothing. That money is frozen waiting for clearance across old financial systems that can't move 24/7. Ripple's vision and RLUSD's role is to free that trapped liquidity and allow it to move instantly. That's the same logic behind cross-border payments, but expanded to corporate finance on a global scale. When you combine that with Ripple's existing infrastructure, the XRP ledger, and its custody platform, you begin to see the whole picture. The goal isn't just to make crypto transactions faster, it's to rewire how the entire world handles capital flows. Real-time 24/7, 365-day liquidity. That's the promise Ripple is chasing. And here's the kicker. It's not just theory anymore. We're already seeing RLUSD's value on chain skyrocketing, closing in on 900 million in supply, up more than 21% in the last 30 days. Monthly transfer volume up nearly 90%, crossing $6.5 billion. Those are real-world adoption metrics, not speculative promises. This kind of growth signals something bigger. Institutions are testing, integrating, and now actively using Ripple's ecosystem. The network effects that once pushed Bitcoin's price are now beginning to form around utility-based assets like XRP and RLUSD. So, while everyone else is distracted watching price charts, the foundation for the next wave of value transfer is being built in silence. Stablecoin by stablecoin, transaction by transaction. Here's where things get really interesting because what just happened on the XRP ledger might be the biggest under-the-radar development in the stablecoin world this year. For months, most of RLUSD's supply lived on Ethereum, and that made sense. Ethereum had the liquidity, the infrastructure, and the enterprise connections. But that dynamic is starting to change fast. Recently, the XRP ledger saw a 31% jump in RLUSD supply, crossing the 100 million mark for the very first time. That's not just a random milestone, it's proof that liquidity is finally starting to flow toward XRP's ecosystem. This move wasn't small either. In just 1 week, we saw new mints worth $24.5 million, $1.3 million, $1.8 million, and another $500,000. All happening directly on the XRP ledger. When you look closer at what those mints represent, it's a shift in trust. Developers, institutions, and liquidity providers are beginning to recognize that XRP ledger's infrastructure is faster, cheaper, and more efficient than anything Ethereum can offer at scale. And that's exactly what stablecoins need. Speed, cost efficiency, and reliability. Even more impressive, the transfer volume on the XRP ledger surged 84%, reaching $49 million in stablecoin transactions. The stablecoin market cap on the ledger itself also just surpassed $300 million for the first time ever. In simple terms, people are finally using XRP ledger for real value movement. Now you might ask, okay, but how does that affect XRP's price? And that's a fair question. The honest answer is not immediately. This early stage expansion isn't meant to cause overnight price jumps. It's meant to establish the foundation of usage and liquidity that will eventually make XRP essential for settlement. You can't have value flow without rails to carry it. And that's exactly what's being built right now. But the true game changer isn't just the numbers, and it's who's paying attention. Ripple's RLUSD just earned a seat at the big table. Visa. Yes, the global payment giant has now officially included RLUSD alongside USCD and USD in its new report on stablecoins powering on-chain lending. That's a massive recognition moment. Visa highlighting RLUSD as a viable component in future credit market infrastructure shows that this coin isn't just another experiment. It's entering the real financial system. Think about what that means for visibility. When companies like Visa start mentioning RLUSD, it immediately validates Ripple's decade-long mission of building institutional-grade blockchain solutions. This isn't hype-driven adoption, it's integration-driven growth, and Visa's involvement gives a clear message to the rest of the market. Compliance, transparency, and scalability matter. Stablecoins that can't meet those standards will eventually fall behind. That's why RLUSD stands out. It's built for institutions, multi-chain, by design, and regulation ready. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you already know how significant this moment is. For years, Ripple and XRP were mocked as the banker's coin, criticized for being too close to traditional finance. And yet, here we are. Traditional finance is now chasing the same level of reliability Ripple had been offering all along. It's almost poetic, really. When Ripple first started working with financial institutions, people in crypto saw it as a weakness. Now it's exactly what makes them unstoppable. While other projects scramble to retrofit compliance and credibility, Ripple's already there, minting hundreds of millions in stable coins on one of the fastest, most secure networks in the world. We're still early in this transition, but the signal is clear. RLUSD isn't just joining the stablecoin race, it's redefining what a trusted stablecoin looks like. And as adoption grows on the XRP ledger, we'll start seeing those ripple effects extend far beyond stablecoins themselves. So now that RLUSD has firmly planted its flag on the XRP ledger, it's time to zoom out and look at the wider landscape, because this isn't happening in isolation. The entire stablecoin sector is going through a seismic transformation, and Ripple's timing couldn't be more perfect. Let's start with some hard data. According to Cointelegraph, stablecoins processed an unbelievable $46 trillion in transactions over the past year. Let that number sink in. That's nearly 3 times the annual volume Visa processed, and it's closing in fast on the AC network, which powers much of US banking with $87 trillion. What we're seeing here isn't a competition anymore. It's a takeover in progress. Stablecoins have already surpassed every traditional payment rail except one, and they did it in less than a decade. And as Ripple's RLUSD continues scaling across the XRP ledger, that total transaction figure is only going to accelerate. We're not talking about projections for 2030 or some distant crypto future. This is happening right now. To put it in perspective, PayPal processes about $1.7 trillion annually, Visa about $16 trillion, and stablecoins $46 trillion. That's what adoption looks like when utility, speed, and cost efficiency win out over legacy systems. And we're still in the early stages. Now consider how fast this can evolve once average people, not just crypto insiders, begin to understand what stablecoins can do. A simple $200 international transfer through banks costs nearly 12.6% in fees. Money transfer operators like Western Union charge 5.3%, mobile carriers about 3.8%. But with stable coins, the cost is near zero, fractions of a cent depending on the network used. That's the killer feature. Stablecoins are eating the financial world from the inside out because they're offering what the system has failed to deliver for decades: speed, transparency, and accessibility. And with networks like XRP Ledger handling those transactions in seconds, you're looking at a financial model that's not just better, it's categorically superior. Of course, that's also why regulators, banks, and old guard institutions fought crypto so hard for years. They weren't scared of speculation, and they were scared of efficiency. When value can move instantly across borders without needing middlemen or days of clearance, entire revenue models collapse. The legacy system's friction is what made it profitable, and stablecoins just erased it. And that's where Ripple steps back into the spotlight. Unlike so many crypto startups that treated regulation like an enemy, Ripple always saw it as a framework to build within. Now, that long game is paying off. RLUSD was built from the ground up to comply with regulations, to pass audits, and to be trusted by the biggest financial players in the world. This is why institutions will continue choosing RLUSD over other options. They don't want hype, they want security, consistency, and legal clarity. Ripple offers that along with deep experience working with banks, governments, and corporations. While other projects chase the retail crowd, Ripple has been sitting in boardrooms and compliance meetings, building relationships that no one else has. And we're already seeing what that kind of foundation can achieve. The XRP ledger isn't just becoming a home for RLUSD, it's becoming a hub for stablecoin innovation itself. Developers are noticing how scalable and interoperable the network is, how easily value can move without gas spikes or congestion issues. It's fast, reliable, and enterprise ready. So when Visa and Ripple both start talking about RLSD in the same breath as USDC and USTT, it's not just a sign of inclusion, and it's a signal that the center of gravity is shifting. The world is beginning to see that compliance and innovation don't have to be opposites. Ripple is showing that both can coexist, and that might be the very thing that propels the next phase of crypto adoption. The financial system isn't changing someday, it's changing now. And if you're watching this closely, you can already see where it's heading toward real utility, real settlement, and real unstoppable network growth. Now that we've seen the numbers, let's talk about the bigger picture, the why behind Ripple's aggressive push with RLUSD, and why it might just be the most strategic move in the entire crypto industry right now. For over a decade, Ripple has been laying the groundwork for institutional adoption, when everyone else in crypto was trying to convince retail investors to buy the dip. Ripple was sitting at tables with banks, central authorities, and regulators discussing how blockchain could streamline the financial system. At the time, that approach wasn't popular. People called XRP the banker's coin, mocked Ripple's compliance-first strategy, and said it would never catch on in the crypto world. But fast forward to today, those same institutions that once dismissed Ripple are now racing to catch up. Every major bank, payment provider, and fintech company is exploring blockchain settlement and tokenized money. And who's already there with the licenses, infrastructure, and reputation to support it all? Ripple. That's why RLUSD is such a crucial part of the puzzle. This isn't about copying USDC or USTD, it's about providing the first institutional grade stablecoin that fits perfectly into the traditional finance ecosystem. RLUSD doesn't just exist on chain, it bridges both worlds. It's fully transparent, compliant, and operates on a network built for global liquidity. And here's the real power move. Ripple isn't relying solely on hype or speculation to grow adoption. It's using its decade of enterprise relationships to integrate RLUSD directly into corporate workflows. When companies start moving real money using RLUSD instead of outdated banking rails, that's not retail-driven volume. That's structural adoption. You can already see how this is unfolding. Ripple's G-Treasury acquisition gives it access to corporate clients managing trillions in payments annually by integrating RLUSD into that ecosystem. Ripple isn't just offering a faster payment method. It's offering an entirely new way to manage liquidity and working capital. This is what unlocking idle capital truly looks like in real time. And if that wasn't enough, the minting activity on the XRP ledger is accelerating, showing that adoption is shifting where it matters, towards speed and efficiency. Every week, new RLUSD supply is being created on chain. And that's not happening for show. It's happening because demand is increasing. Developers, institutions, and liquidity providers want in. Meanwhile, Ripple's strategy goes beyond just payments. It's also quietly building the infrastructure that supports lending, tokenized assets, and real world finance, all of which rely on stable, compliant digital dollars like RLUSD. Visa highlighting RLUSD in its report wasn't a coincidence. It was an acknowledgement that Ripple's ecosystem is becoming an integral part of the future financial stack. So when you step back and connect the dots, the growing transaction volume, the surge in XRP ledger stablecoin activity, the major partnerships, the regulatory clarity, you realize this isn't a small market story anymore. Ripple is building the backbone of the next generation of finance, and RLUSD is its engine. Every time value moves on the XRP ledger through RLUSD, it strengthens the network effect. And eventually, that's what drives XRP's value. It's not just about speculation, it's about becoming the settlement layer for the global economy. We're standing at the threshold of that transformation right now. And the craziest part, most people still don't even see it coming. So, yes, it's easy to get frustrated when prices move sideways, but what's being built behind the scenes is worth more than a short-term pump. We're talking about the rails for the entire digital economy, rails that run on XRP technology with stable coins like RLUSD acting as the fuel for institutional adoption. And it's not going to take 5 or 10 years to see this unfold. The infrastructure is already here. Ripple's ecosystem is expanding faster than ever. Compliance frameworks are in place. Visa is acknowledging RLUSD, and the XRP ledger is processing record-breaking volume. The foundation is done. Now comes the exponential phase. Soon we'll see trillions moving across networks every month, and the world will finally wake up to the fact that XRP's value isn't hypothetical, it's mechanical. It's embedded in the movement of money itself. So here's the takeaway. Stay patient, stay informed, and don't underestimate what's happening behind the curtain. The future of finance is being built right now, quietly, methodically, and on-chain. And when that tipping point hits, when the stablecoin tsunami fully meets the speed of the XRP ledger, the market won't just react, it'll transform. This is Journey to XRP, and the journey has only just begun.